for sharing what happens in the history which made huge impact and shape in the Buddhist monastic education in Myanmar. And also, it is great to know more insights of Sayadaw's recent published book from Bloomsbury. I would like to hear more advice and comments from you on what should be the starting point and how Myanmar as a whole should start to approach Buddhism original education philosophy as well as Shin Maharattasara's education philosophy. Thank you. So this is the question.
I would like to hear more advice and comments from you. What should be the starting point and how Myanmar as a whole should start to approach the Buddhist original education philosophy as well as Shin Maharattasara education philosophy. I think, the Union Minister of Education is here. What the new education, education reform is trying to do is to shift or to give more focus, not to use the word shift, to give more focus to students than we ever did before. The teacher still has as much authority as he or she used to have before. But in the earlier days, the student was almost a passive participant. So if we give more participation to the student, everyone participates, then we will have more brain working. I'd like to give you an example, from Oxford University. If I am to teach the Four Noble Truths, the basic Buddhist philosophy, then I would compile a list, a suitable list of reading to students, pointing out page numbers. Then, in order to guide them with their reading, I would provide some leading questions. So I would give that information to them. So they would go to the library and they would read, and they would produce either a summary or an essay, a short essay, or they would read and come and speak. So in that way, we give more opportunity to them to think and to speak. At the same time, we also place more responsibility to them. This is not a difficult task at all, a very easy task, I should say. It requires only the changing of psychology on the part of the teacher. If we are curious that the student may have their own ideas, interesting ideas, and then, we want to listen to them. What happened in the past is that the teacher didn't want to listen to students when they want to speak. Psychologically, we can say this is a form of insecure feeling. Psychologically. One monk, was teaching Abbhidhamma, and one of his students asked him a question. And he punished his student for asking a question. You see? So, the student center is for the teacher to digest the literature. That's a literature review, to know everything about the subject, and then to decide how much the student should start with, and then to guide them with questions. By doing so, if they learn how to ask questions, instead of learn how to provide answer, and once they learn how to ask a credible question, meaningful question, they are there.
Thank you very much, Sayadaw. I think there are questions for both the Sayadaws, so maybe the next one. Bhante, would you like to choose one, or shall I read? Shall I try to read? Sometimes it's... So the next one is about anthropology. According to Durkheim's theory, religion is a compound of sacred and profane. Likewise, many Buddhists in Myanmar generally understand that, I don't understand the word, this life to sacred by means of self-denial practice. Profane life to sacred by means of self-denial practice. I think the question is that whether the practice of self-denial or sanyama, that can be called profane according to the anthropology, or how the Venerable sees this difference between sacred and profane in Buddhism.
Well, as I refer to Durkheim, in order to show that how anthropology works, I didn't say that Durkheim his definition is a perfect definition. I do not agree. But that definitions open the whole world for us. Otherwise, Buddhism is categorized not on the religion, on the philosophy. Because the word religion is very, very Christian dominant idea. You have to have God in order to become a religion. And we don't have that big G God. We might have a small g, of course. But again, that will be very interpretive. You can interpret in different way. So, Durkheim was the first person to be able to say, among those own Western sayings, that the way they are defining religion is very, very inclusive. Not very, very exclusive, only their own. But what about the Buddhism, for example, who doesn't believe in God then? So, they don't have answer. That's why they say philosophy. But when we think of the word sasana in Pali, actually sasana doesn't mean religion. Tatana in Burmese, it doesn't mean the word religion in English, because the word in English is something to do with God. But tatana in Pali means that tatanang kileteti tatana, which means that the something which can cleanse your mind is called tatana. It's called religion, you see. Very different meaning. So anthropologists try to let the Westerners open their eyes and say that, you see, if you are using the definition of a Christian definition, you are excluding so many people in the world. So he tried to give the reason, said that you have a sacred, but as well you will have a profane, you have a secularization as well. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't like it, but that is a reflections of Durkheim. You can put, as you said in the one of questions, you can define, if you want, this is to have a self-denial is a sacred, or that is a prophet. That is your choice. I wouldn't care. But if I'm an anthropologist, I will look what is the influence of that sort of a belief or that sort of a knowledge in your daily life. What will happen with that sort of belief in your daily practice. It is just only the way you are referring to, you always say it, but if you are practicing totally different, and I will write that, that is the only way of saying it. In real life, you are doing different thing. So this is a just fact presenting machine in a way. So you can use it anyway, it's fine.
Thank you, Venerable. The next question actually can be for any of the speakers, and I will summarize the question. There are different types of confidence for different situations. The student is interested in knowing how to build up
Can I have the question? There are several confidences in a respective situation. Could you tell the way how to build confidence in learning? Okay. And overcome some bad action. Well, it's a lot easier if the teacher is confident in himself, in herself. Okay, the teacher will be able to help the student to build confidence in themselves. Starting from something simple, and when the student has done it, and give credit to the student. So, when the student receives recognition from the teacher, that means a lot for confidence. Contrarily, if the teacher focuses on negative aspect of the student, just on the shortcoming, and doesn't want to recognize the positive side, then the confidence of the student, may be hard to develop. Now, this question goes to the extent of overcoming, some bad action, some bad karma. I think when we talk about good karma, bad karma, we are talking also about the condition for that action for that action to bear fruit. In other words, an action is like the seed. For that seed to grow into a plant and into fruition, there are other conditions like water, like the soil, like the oxygen, the sun, like this. In the same way, for one particular karma to bear fruit, there are other conditions. But now we talk about positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement to keep thinking about good thing, to keep speaking about good thing, positive thing in our life and in the life of other people. I think if we do that, the bad action, the bad karma, will not get the necessary condition to bear fruit, but only the good one, we have more opportunity. In that way, we can postpone and ultimately banish the bad one. Neurology today, they say, whenever we have a negative thought, there's a neural connection appearing. When a negative neural connection appears in the amygdala, then the positive neural connection in the hippocampus disappears. Is similar to the way we understand karma. So by strengthening the positive thinking, we strengthen the positive karma.
Okay, as an anthropologist, I will go very different way. Okay, this is very, very heavy stuff. So leave it to Oxford Sayadaw. I am very light. If I have to teach my student and then have to build a confidence his confidence, I will try to investigate what is the cause of losing his confidence first. I wouldn't go to any text. I will see why. If he doesn't like the word Buddhism, for example, and then if you are trying to force Buddhism on him, of course he wouldn't accept. So it is the teachers. Now, how do you cheat him in a way? It's not a good word. But you have to get around and see that you might not use the word Buddhism at all because he's scared of the word Buddhism. So maybe he's very interested in computer game. So I will go and try to explain, try to let him go to the computer game, but through that he will get into the Buddhism without knowing. And once he is in the game, you don't have to do anything. The only thing is that once you're in the game, you have to come, stop, come and have a tea. This is dinner time. And come. And he doesn't want to come because he's very into that. And that is how you develop the confidence. And that is a trick you have to develop as a teacher. You have to, as a Buddha, when he give teaching to anyone, he know what is his weakness, what is his strength. And just give a one word, one sentence, that's work. And that is how I base on looking at the people, looking at their community. So I will give that way, that method, so that he can recognize, he can develop his cognitivity by himself. So as a teacher, I just, pamper here, pamper there, if to go out and let him bring out himself.
The next question is asked in Myanmar. One who asks is Ulasu. Let out Nyoja Munye, Yangon. To me, I got all. Look at it. Nidia Laga, Mema Nagama, Amiazuha, Pali there, Pali's Gadi, who pure below, Palia, but Sabbath, Yajemude, which you don't yard it, Yanjanga, good or other machine at the job, Yanjamuha, Dorothy. You never, at our shares at the bellow loadedness would I go. Bellow Sovietness would I go, just if you will shape me, shadow up, she was.
Thank you, Vasai. Make a maiden. Promote the cool leader, Sensasia Leia out. Pure Piachin. Umhara Manaro, a candabo, no? Chowket one. Chowket one. Talk about low and Louis. Not done of a shimelo. Or pin them and pinashin to Otaba that left it and Tebin to Uga. Pure. Come and not damn it. Miazo look pure. I may educate ma, do the Taja Piachara. Tapchat Nonga, could Luuyene, Eluuyene, edit Tapchat and known at they so and known as way. Educate a cook at a Boviro. Violent head. Boviro jammer. The Galo Pomono Ku Shide. Louis Tambong Kunatown Leanes way. The net neko, Louis Tambong Naya. Tidek had Tijek Hajama, a Jokeka, Janan and a Tony Yamet. Ale, Theory the Kubo Mutiviro Trachat Harama. And a yanga Ponyan Champion of Kuga, Manyan Chamulo Mineha, home, Yamiro sensible Piovare. A coup. The bigger than neighbor, not town as a coconema, American Duga African Mayo, now bidom, Chile by Mayo, Korea Mayo, sit at the charter. She Dama, the sit that ye twene. A Tanjama. Town that changing Pietro, the ye draka, Tanjama, the ye draka. Pomiana. Pomono in a Pianchi and Pomono let him a statistic Mishiba. The bigger Ning Asa Chausa Kunasa Shisega, Bonyan Chan, Kupo Yanchan, or Error Piona. Pomo Piona Naro, Pomo, oh yeah, မွေးရက်လေချမ်းပြည်နယ်လည်းပဲလဲချမြို့ပင်လုံးနဲ့လဲချဆိုတာ26မိုင်ပဲဝေးတယ်ဘုံမတို့ငယ်တော့ဆိုရင်ဓမြအရန်ကြောက်ရတယ်အခုတော့မကြောက်တော့လူတွေညလည်းသွားကြတယ်အဲ့ဒီကကြည်ချင်းအဖြစ်ပို့ပြီးတော့ငြိမ်းချမ်းတယ်လို့ဘုံဘုံကပြောချင်တယ်ဒါမဲ့ဒီညမှာဒီမိခွန်းရဲ့အဓိကကြားတဲ့အပိုင်းကအဲ့ဒီအပိုင်းမဟုတ်ပါဘူးအဓိကကြားတဲ့ပိုင်းကတော့ပို့ပြီးတော့လူတွေရဲ့စိတ်ထဲမှာဒီအဘိဓမ္မာရဲ့တရားတော်တွေရောက်သွားအောင်ပို့ပြီးတော့ငြိမ်းချမ်းအောင်နောက်ပြီးတော့တာယာဖွံ့ဖြိုးအောင်ဘယ်လိုလုပ်မှာတော့ဆိုမေးတဲ့မိခွန်းတွေပဲအဲ့ဒီပိုင်းကပို့အဓိကကြားပါတယ်ရှေ့ကပိုင်းကတော့ဒီမိခွန်းရဲ့ကအခြေခံတဲ့ theory တခုပါအဲ့တော့ဒီမိခွန်းကိုဖြေမယ်ဆိုရင်ဗုဒ္ဓရဲ့အတွေ့အခေါ်ရဆိုရင်တော့ပြဿနာအခြေခံပြီးတော့တွေးရပါတယ် problem based thinking ဘုံမတော်ကမငြိမ်းချမ်းမှုဆိုရင်ဘာကြောင့်မငြိမ်းချမ်းတာတော့မဖွံ့ဖြိုးဆိုရင်ဘာကြောင့်မဖွံ့ဖြိုးတော့အဲ့ဒီမိခွန်းမေးရတယ်မေးတဲ့အခါမှာပြဿနာကဘာလို့ဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီမိခွန်းအကြောင်းအဲ့ဒီမိခွန်းမေးရင်အဲ့ဒီပြဿနာအကြောင်းဆွေးနွေးရင်လူတွေစိတ်ဆိုးတယ်ဟုတ်အရန်ကိုပညာတတ်တဲ့ပညာရှင်တွေကြားထဲမှာပကံရဆိုရင်အကြောင်းပြောရင်ဘာထမ်းပြီးတော့ပြောတော့ဟို anger management လို့တာပြောတာပါ anger management လို့တယ်ဟိုစိတ်မဆိုးအောင်အဲ့တော့တနေ့ကဘုံပြောတဲ့ဟာမြန်မာဘောလုံးလေအစဉ်ကဒုတိယရခဲ့အဲ့ဒါဟို half full and half empty ပြကြည့်မှာတော့ half empty ဆိုရင်တော့ဘောလုံးပွဲမှာရှုံးတာကိုကြည့်ရမှာ half full ဆိုရင်တော့ဒုတိယရတယ်10တင်းထဲမှာဒုတိယရတယ်အဲ့တော့ဘယ်ဟာကိုကြည့်မှာတော့ရှုံးသွားတဲ့အခါမှာဟို Facebook ပေါ်မှာရော LINE ပေါ်မှာရောလက်ဖက်ဆိုင်မှာရောဆဲတဲ့လူတွေကိုကြည့်ခြင်းအပြင် half empty ကိုကြည့်တဲ့ချင်းအဲ့တော့အကောင်းမြင်ဝါဒရှိဖို့အရေးကြီးတယ်ပြဿနာကိုလေးလာတယ်ပြဿနာအကြောင်းပြောတယ်ပြောပြီးတော့စိတ်မဆိုးဘဲနဲ့ဟိုစိတ်တည်ငြိမ်နေသေးတဲ့အဲ့ဒါအကောင်းမြင်ဝါဒရဲ့အခြေခံပါအဲ့ဒါကဟိုသစ္စာလေးပါးနဲ့ရလာတဲ့အတွေးခေါ် philosophy လည်းဟုတ်တယ်နောက်အခုအနောက်တိုင်းမှာ mindfulness လို့ခေါ်တဲ့ဟိုတရားထိုင်တာနဲ့ရလာတဲ့ဟို skill လည်းဟုတ်တယ်အဲ့ဒါလို့ဆိုရင်တော့ဘုံဘုံထင်တယ်ဒီငြိမ်းချမ်းမှုတိုးတက်မှုတွေဟာသူ့အတူအခြေခံတွေရလာမယ်ဖြစ်လာမယ်လို့ယုံကြည်ပါတယ်
The next question also asks in Myanmar and as well as in English. The person who asks is Dr. Nyanawara, lecturer in Buddhist University, Sagai. He asks in Myanmar, one, Nangaya Chama Bodha Bada how can we try Buddhism to spread towards approach? This is one question. Another question is, Myanmarပညာရေးကိုဘုန်းကြီးပညာရေးလို့ရေးထားပါတယ်ဘုန်းကြီးပညာရေးကိုဘယ်လိုလုပ်သင့်တယ်လဲ What is your good idea for the monastic education in Myanmar? These two questions also will be answered by Sayalo.
Thank you. နိုင်ငံရဲ့ခြားမှာဗုဒ္ဓဘာသာပြန့်ပွားအောင်ဘယ်လိုလုပ်မလဲနိုင်ငံခြားမှာတွေ့ကြုံရတဲ့ပြဿနာတွေဘာပြဿနာတွေတုံးဆို problem based approach တရားလို့အဲ့ဒီတွေ့ရတဲ့ပြဿနာတွေဥပမာစိတ်ဖိစီးမှုတို့เนาะ stress တွေနောက်ပြီးတော့relationship တွေ break down ဖြစ်တာတို့အဲ့ဒီလိုပြဿနာတွေအဲ့ပြဿနာတွေဟိုလေ့လာမှာသာသနာတော်ပြုခြင်းတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ကလေ့လာစိတ်ဝင်စားမယ်သူများရဲ့ဒုက္ခကိုစိတ်ဝင်စားမယ်သူများစိတ်ဒုက္ခကိုစိတ်ဝင်စားပြီးတော့အဲ့ဒီပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ဒီနိုင်ငံခြားလူတွေဥပမာဥရောပတို့အမေရိကလူတွေသူတို့ way of thinking ကဘယ်လိုရှိတော့တွေးခေါ်ပုံတွေးခေါ်နေအဲ့ဒါဒုတိယခုအချက်လေ့လာမယ့်အရာဖြစ်ပါတယ်အဲ့လိုလေ့လာပြီးပြီဆိုရင်ဗုဒ္ဓတရားတော်ကသူတို့ရဲ့ပြဿနာဘယ်ပြဿနာကိုဘာနဲ့ဖြေရှင်းပေးနိုင်လို့ဆိုအဲ့ဒီကရုဏာအခြေခံတဲ့စိတ်နဲ့သွားတယ်ဆိုရင်တော့အဲ့ဒီဘုန်းကြီးနားတော့မနားရအောင်သူ သူကတကယ် popular ဖြစ်မှာဘာဖြစ်လို့တော့သူတို့အတွက်အတုံးချလို့အတုံးဝင်လို့ useful ဖြစ်လို့အဲ့လိုမဟုတ်ဘဲနဲ့ခေါင်းခတ်လုပ်တဲ့အနေနဲ့အနိုင်ယူတဲ့အနေနဲ့အဲ့လိုသွားရဲဆိုရင်တော့သူကဓမ္မဝိဇ္ဇာစိတ်ထမဟုတ်သေးဘူးဓမ္မဝိဇ္ဇာဆိုတာကတော့သူတို့ရဲ့ပြဿနာသူတို့ရဲ့ဒုက္ခကိုနည်းအောင်လုပ်ချင်တဲ့စိတ်အဲ့ဒီစိတ်နဲ့သာနာသွားပြုမယ်ဆိုရင်တော့ဘယ်သာသနာဖြစ်ဖြစ်ဘယ်နိုင်ငံပဲသွားအများလက်ခံမယ်လို့တပည့်တော်ယုံကြည်ရဖျားနော်ဒေါက်တာအရှင်ညနာဝရဒုတိယတစ်ခုကမြန်မာဘုန်းကြီးပညာရေးကိုဘယ်လိုလုပ်ပါသလဲမြန်မာဘုန်းကြီးပညာရေးကသူကကျမ်းစာတွေကအကောင်းတယ်တကယ်လေးနဲ့တဲ့ဟာဒါပေမဲ့အဲ့ဒီကျမ်းစာကိုလေးလာတဲ့နီးကတချို့ဟာတွေစံမွေးဘွားလာပြီးတော့ဖြတ်စံဘွားလာပြီးတော့ဖြတ်နေမိခွန်းမေးတဲ့ဆရာတော်တွေကသူ့ရဲ့မိခွန်းကိုကျောင်းသားတွေဖြေတဲ့အခါအောင်နေရင်သူကခုံယူတာအဲ့ဒါမျိုးကြတော့သာသနာပြုတဲ့စိတ်ဓာတ်မဟုတ်ပြန်ဘူးသာသနာပြုတဲ့စိတ်ဓာတ်မဟုတ်ဒါကြောင့်နေ့ခင်းတော့တပည့်တော်စာရန်ထဲမှာပြောသွားတဲ့အထက်မှာတကယ်လို့ပညာရေးပြုပြင်မယ်ဆိုရင်စိတ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာအရာလည်းပြုပြင်ရမယ်နောက်ပြီး training တွေပေးရမယ်အခုထက်ထိအစိုးရတွေမှာဆရာဖြစ်တင်တန်းကျောင်းရှိတယ်ဘုန်းကြီးတွေသီလရှင်တွေဆရာဖြစ်တင်တန်းတွေမရှိပါဘူးဘုံကိုယ်တိုင်အသက်16နှစ်နဲ့ဓမ္မစရအောင်ပြီးတော့ဘာမှအတွေ့အကြုံမရှိဘဲနဲ့စာသင်ရတယ်ပထမ lesson မှာလေသင်ရတဲ့အခါမှာချွေးတွေပြန်အရန်ကိုကြောက်တယ်ဘိုးကလည်းဘယ်လိုlesson တွေပြင်ရမယ်နောက်ဒီ teaching philosophy ဘယ်လိုရှိတယ်ဒီ syllabus ရဲ့အတွေးခေါ်ဘယ်လိုရှိတယ်နောက်မေးတဲ့အခါမှာဒီ philosophy နဲ့ကိုက်ညီအောင်ဘယ်လိုမေးရမယ်စစ်တဲ့အခါမှာလည်းပဲသူ့ရဲ့ framework ကဘယ်လိုရှိဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒါဘုံဘုံတော့လုံးဝtraining မရခဲ့ပါဘူး training မရခဲ့ခါကျတော့အရင်ကမိခွန်းလေးကိုကြည့်ပြီးတော့လှုပ်ကြတာလေအဲ့တော့ကိုးကားတဲ့မိခွန်းကမှားပြီဆိုရင်အဲ့ဒါတခြားလုံးမှားသွားတာပဲအဲ့ဒါကြောင့်ဘုန်းကြီးပညာရေးကိုအဲ့ဒီကနေစပြီးတော့ပြုပြင်သင်ပါတယ်လို့ထင်ပါတယ်
Another question also asked in mixed English and Burmese. The person is, I cannot read his name. Pirustula.
How can we try to spread Buddhism abroad? This is one question. Another question. What is your good idea for monastic education?
Well, again, to be very short, because I guess that Oxford Sayadaw is always long, so I am a Cambridge Sayadaw. I'll be very short.
All classes.
If you want to spread Buddhism, first of all, you have to be a good Buddhist. You have to be a good Buddhist and then show them that what is the strength of being a Buddhist. What is the benefit of being a Buddhist? How friendly you are, how compassionate you are, how lovely you are. Then that is already spreading Buddhism. You don't have to teach. Action is better than the loud voice. Okay? The second part, what is a good idea for monastic education in Myanmar? Of course, when we talk about monastic educations, that is something we have to consider very deeply. When we say monastic education, now we are giving mostly on Tipitaka, Abbhidhamma, Pali, and so and so. Very important. Without that, we don't call monastic. But again, Cambridge Sayadaw will ask that whether if you have a full knowledge of Buddhism, but if you can survive in the real world, what do you mean by that? So having a knowledge, you are drowned with the knowledge. You are drowned with all the Dhamma. You know all the 84,000 teachings. But when you get stressed, you forget that. You know? And you forget that you know all those things. So basically, in order to teach our monastic educations, it is very important that how we balance the ideas. Very important to have the background knowledge of Tipitaka, Dhamma, and anything. But provided that you have to make sense with your true life, then that will be the Dhamma. What is Dhamma means? Upholding. Upholding your own life, upholding who you are. Yeah, that is how we have to balance the education. Because education doesn't mean that teach. Education means bringing out. You see? Education means something you bring out after you understood. It is not a kind of a teaching. It is a cognitivity. That's why in the Panchasila, Sikha Padang Samadhiyami, Tikha Padang Samadhiyami, which means that what? I dedicate myself to study in deeply the lesson. You see? It's not say that, no, you don't do that. People say, don't do. And if you say that if you have a label here, don't come up, people will come up. Why? You see, that is a rebellious type of people. But if you say something very makes sense, let them understood, let them cognitive, and that is how education should be. Very short. Yeah.
As I have just claimed, the next question is, Dr. Yuval Harari, future homocrisis ဖြစ်နိုင်လို့ပြောတယ်ပါတဲ့။နောက်တစ်ခုက Stephen Wagin Evan ကခဏလူတွေဝါမြုပ်သွားမယ်ပြောပါတယ်တဲ့။ Brief answers to the big questions ဆိုပြီးတော့ဆရာတော်ကိုတိုက်ရိုက်မေးထားပါတယ်။
Oxford ဆရာတော်ကမဖြေနိုင်တဲ့ question နဲ့ပဲတိုးနေ Stephen Hawking က AI artificial intelligence ကလူတွေကိုဝါမြုပ်သွားမယ်လို့ပြောတယ်ဖြစ်နိုင်ခြင်းနဲ့ဖြစ်နိုင်လိမ့်မယ်လူတွေအမျိုးမျိုးရှိခဲ့တယ်ဆိုတာလေevolution အရာ6မျိုးရှိခဲ့တယ်ဆိုတော့တစ်မျိုးပဲကျန်တယ်ဆိုတာအဲ့ဒီ theory ကိုယုံနေဆိုရင်တော့လူကသူ့ရဲ့လောက်ရနဲ့သူ့ကိုပြန်ပြီးတော့ဖြည့်ဆည်းသွားတယ်ဆိုတာဒါလည်းBuddhist philosophy ရဆိုရင်တော့ဖြစ်နိုင်ပါတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့အဲ့ဒီဟာကိုဆက်တဲ့ထက်လူကိုပို့ချစ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေကလူသားတွေကိုပို့ချစ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေကတကယ်လို့အားကောင်းသွားရင်ဝါမြုပ်နိုင်တယ်ဆိုတဲ့ possibility ကဖြစ်လာခြင်းမှာဖြစ်လာလိမ့်မယ်ဒါကတော့ Stephen Hawking ကလည်းသူ possibility ပဲပြောတာဘုံဘုံကလည်း possibility ပဲပြောပါတယ်
Yes. Next question from Dr. Nirmala, lecturer at the SSBU. My question goes to Venerable Professor Dr. Pasakayawang Wisud. Oh, me. Thank you. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. Thank you. I came to realize that anthropology is the study of what makes us human. Yes. To comprehend the term anthropology more clearly, we also need to understand what human is. So, my question is, how will you define the term human? Do I have to answer this question? I think everyone here sitting is a human. Don't you know that you are human? If you don't know you are human, I'm worried. Well, as an anthropologist, it's very easy, okay? If I study Oxford Sayadaw as a Buddhist philosopher, whatever, then I will try to get answer what is human based on Buddhism. Maybe Buddhism will say that it's a panchaskandha. It is a nama rupa, it is a kaya and chitta, go on. I listen, that's all. And then, what ordinary people see as a human? Maybe different things. What anthropologists look at a human is that what makes us human? Who is human? For anthropology, human is human interaction. Okay? Human interactions. Imagine somebody have maybe read or heard about the what you call this a boy who was born but he was neglected. And the fox and the wolves, they fed that boy. He's a human, totally, but he was brought up as a fox, as a dog. You see? So his body is true human, but because of his interaction, he lost his humanity. When the people find him, they have to re-educate a lot until he came back to be human. Otherwise, he was walking as a dog, he was eating as a dog, everything. So what is the interactions make you human? If you are born, for example, when we are born, do we know you are human? If animal, they know, they have an animal instinct. If it is a dog, gave a birth to a small puppy, the small puppy can go and find the mother's milk to where to suck in. As a human body, as a human, when we are born, what can you do? Do you have a human instinct? No. Animal have animal instinct. But human instinct, no. We don't know. We just cry, cry, cry. If nobody even, it is said that even mother try to give the milk, even you don't know how to suck the milk. We don't know how to survive ourselves. The mother has to teach you by drop, maybe 2 drops, until something get on and you started to chalk up and then started to get some taste and so and started slowly. So you see, that makes you human. The human for anthropologists means that how you interact. Interactions make you somebody. Therefore, for anthropologists, human is a copycat machine. So always copying someone. If there is nothing to copy, if there is a dog there, then you will be a dog, not a human anymore. So in order to have human, you always have to very careful with the Buddha's word, asevana chabala nam pandita nancha sevana etang mangala muttamang. That is a human.
Now, question to me, Havare, Pamalu, me, Beta Luga, Yango Shebain Tegadu, Tudia near, Nanga Sasa Yiga, Jauna, Mount Bobu Shebai. Made a question, Janoto Boda Badariha, Boda Sindu Rodrigo, to look Buzo Javare, Zidi Rogole, go where Buzo Javare, Boda Yubaro Miamiago, Piagos, Saina Yimayu, Buzo go where Javare, Davi me, Pado Zido will go with Buzo Java the lay, Boda yes, Sano Dada, Tabna Tajin Jona, Domo, a Chami, Jonia, John Le Pia, or Pia, or Saro Chiva.
အထုမြတ်ထားရတဲ့အရာကိုစေတီလို့ခေါ်တယ်။အဲစေတီကဗုဒ္ဓမြတ်စွာဘုရားဆီကနေလာတဲ့ပစ္စည်းတွေကြီးပဲ။ဒီဓာတ်တော်တွေဘာတွေအဲ့ဒါဓာတုစေတီခေါ်တယ်။အသုံးပြုတဲ့ပစ္စည်းတွေမြတ်စွာအသုံးပြုပစ္စည်းတွေအဲ့ဒါပရိဘောဂစေတီခေါ်တယ်။သူရဲ့ပစ္စည်းတွေနောက်တစ်ခုကတော့ဒီထဲမှာပြောထားတဲ့အတိုင်းစင်တုတော်ဆိုတာစင်တုတော်တွေနောက်ပြီးတော့ပကြီကားတွေဒါတဲ့ဥဒိတစေတီနောက်ဆုံးတစ်ခုကတော့မြတ်စွာဘုရားရဲ့အဆုံးအမတွေအတွေ့အခေါ်တွေအဲ့ဒါစေတီတစ်မျိုးဓမ္မစေတီအခုပြောတာကစေတီတော်တွေကိုဘာကြောင့်ကိုးခွယ်လို့ဆိုဒီထဲမှာအဖြစ်မှန်တော့ပါပြီးသားပါဗုဒ္ဓရဲ့စံတော်ဓာတ်တွေကိုထားပါနာထားခြင်းကြောင့်ကိုးကွယ်တာဖြစ်ပါတယ်တခြားအချိန်မှကျတော့တချို့နေရာမှာကျတော့ဒီစံတော်အစစ်တို့ဓာတ်တော်အစစ်တို့ရှားတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်မလို့မရှိပါဘူးမရှိပေမဲ့ဒီဓာတ်တော်စစ်တဲ့ဆိုတဲ့တရုတ်ပြည်တို့နောက်ပြီးတော့သတိလင်္ကာကန်ဒီတို့အဲ့မှာကိုကအတုတစ်ခုခုလုပ်ပြီးတော့စင်ဆွဲနဲ့တစ်ခုခုလုပ်ပြီးတော့အဲ့ဓာတ်တော်နားမှာသွားပြီးတော့ထားတယ်ပေါ့အဲ့ဒါရင်ငွေလုံးတယ်လို့ခေါ်ကြတယ်ဒါကတော့tradition တစ်ခုပေါ့အဲ့ဒီဟာကိုတံပင့်လာပြီးတော့ဖះတဲတဲ့ဟာတွေစိတ်ထဲမှာထားတဲ့ဟာတွေအများကြီးရှိပါတယ်တချို့ကြတော့အဲ့လိုဓာတ်တော်မျိုးမရှိပါဘူးဘုံတွေ့ခဲ့တဲ့ဟာစိတ်ထဲမှာဘာထမ်းဆိုစင်တုတော်ပဲပြန်ထဲတယ်စင်တုတော်ပဲပြန်ထဲအဲ့တော့အဲ့ဒီဟာတွေကတော့အပြင်မှာရှိတဲ့ပစ္စည်းပေါ့အဲ့အပြင်မှာရှိတဲ့ပစ္စည်းတွေကိုဘာဖြစ်လို့အရေးထားတာတော့ဆိုအတွင်းမှာထားရမယ်ဓမ္မစေတီအထိရောက်အောင်သူ သူကအထောက်အကူပြုလို့တဲ့နော်ဒါကတော့ဟိုလွယ်နဲ့ချင်းချင်းလေးဒီမိကုံးကိုဖြေချခြင်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်
ပြေလောက်ပြီလို့ထင်ပါတယ်ဇေဒီနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ဇေဒီဒီလည်းပဲဥဒိတဇေဒီပါပဲရုပ်ဘွားတော်ဒီလည်းပဲဥဒိတဇေဒီပါပဲတော့အခေါ်တာကွာတာဖြစ်ပါတယ်၊ကွဲတာဖြစ်ပါတယ်။ဘုရားရှင်ကိုရည်မှန်းပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ပူဇော်တာဖြစ်ပါတယ်။ရုပ်ဘွားတော်ကိုပူဇော်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်ရုပ်တုကိုကိုးကွယ်ခြင်းမဟုတ်ပါဘူး။ဒါကိုအားလုံးသိပြီးသားဖြစ်ပါတယ်။ကျွန်တော်ဒီမှာမေ့မှာဆိုလို့ဆက်ပြီးပြောတာပါဖြစ်ပါတယ်ခင်ဗျာ။ဇေဒီဟာလည်းပဲဆရာတော်အမိန့်ရှိသလိုဓာတ်တော်မွေတော်ပါသည်ဖြစ်စေမပါသည်ဖြစ်စေဘုရားရဲ့ဂုဏ်တော်ကိုရည်မှန်းပြီးပူဇော်ထားတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်ကိုးကွယ်တဲ့နဲ့ဥဒိတဇေဒီတစ်မျိုးဖြစ်ကြောင်းကျွန်တော်ဆရာတော်ကိုဖြစ်ဆက်ပြီးတော့ရှောက်ထားပါခင်ဗျာ
Okay, another question from Ma Teja, a student. He is saying that, Venerable, I have learned from your talk that Buddhism is similar to anthropology. Could you kindly mention how they resemble to each other for some extent? Because it is very new term for me. Very thank. I guess you have to take my class. Then you will understand that. In these very few words, I will say that when I say it is very similar, similar in terms of investigation, similar in terms of trying to get clarification, but anthropology stopped there. Anthropology is good at spying, good at investigating, good at understanding. Once you understood what you are, and stop there. If there is a problem, and anthropology says that because there is a such problem because of this and that, finished. Anthropology become, finish their job. Somebody will take up. The policymaker will take their result and make a policy. Or the problem solver, they will take that, their summarization, and they will solve the problem. The solution is another anthropology. But Buddhism is much, much better than anthropology. Because we have a very tools that we don't believe in anything. We don't believe in anything. Very important. As a Buddhist, I always try to emphasize on this point. We sometimes believe too much. We always say that Buddha asks us to not to believe. Kalama Sutta says this and that. Kalama Sutta says that not to believe. But we believe in Kalama Sutta. You see? We refer that Kalama Sutta teach us not to believe, but we believe in the Kalama Sutta itself. So, what you are talking about here? So, in that sense, anthropology is good at investigating, trying to understand from every angles. Whatever way you can. You can use a medical, you can use a mathematics, you can use a history, you can use a sociology, you can use a geography, you can use a cosmology, you can use a animism, you can use whatever you want to understand it. Once you understand, you know why. And anthropology is done. But Buddhism says that if you know that that is good, so you have to bhavana, you have to develop it. If you know that that is a bad, you have the pahana, you have to stop it and then trying to finish that. So this is a similarity in the sense of just a methodology in the beginning. But in the overall, it's two different disciplines, two different things. So these days, that's why you have an anthropology of Buddhism, which is already a subject in the modern world. In the many Western universities, you have a syllabus, you have a class, you have a subject called anthropology of Buddhism. What do they do that? What do they learn in that subject? They try to learn Buddhism through Buddhist community, Buddhist society. Not also the text as well. Canonical Buddhism, they look at the study as well, but not at a pure canonical. But look at how people influence those canon, those texts, and then what you are seeing as the reflections of those teachings in that society. So anthropology just work as a mirror for you, just to show you who you are. But if you want to solve the problem, if you find that, I have some scratch in my face, then it is your job to clean it out. So that is Buddhism. That is not anthropology. Anthropology shows you that there is some paint on your face. That's all.
Thank you very much, Venerable. Now there is a question that I assume it was for the Venerable Brahma Pandit. It's about philosophy. So may I ask the Venerables to answer on his behalf?
Okay. So this is, we are in the philosopher in proxy. Lecture in Chicago is philosophy and Dhamma same. After that, it's all, what is it in the Burmese language, I can't read. Philosophy in the many philosophers' thinking. Dhamma is not just the thinking of, yes, it's very, actually, the Brahma Pandit, Venerable Brahma Pandit also mentioned, when you say philosophy, it is very simple, okay? Very simple. Again, you ask anthropologists to define philosophy. Philosophy is simply love of knowledge. You see? So you can ask, where we come from, where are we going after we die? All those unanswerable questions, the philosophy will come. And then we will debate. No. For example, in the Papua New Guinea, there is some certain tribe. They believe that they were born from the sea. They said that because they are the island people, when they go to the sea, all the women, they will go and take the bath in the sea, and the god of sea inseminate them. And then that's how the human is born, you see. So people will debate on that like that. How can it be? And this has become philosophy. And when you're satisfied with the answers of debating, and that is a philosophy. But Buddha said that. Buddhism is very different. It is not a drishti, it is not an opinion, it is not an idea, it is not kind of love of knowledge. Chua khato bhagavata dhammo. Dhamma is you have to have a good intention. Sanditiko, you can see for yourself. Ditti, you can see for yourself. Akaliko, it is universal. It is a no-time factor, it is a universal. It is not only Burmese, it's only Thai, it is African, it is Alaskan, whatever, it is same fact. Akaliko, universal. Ehi pasiko, because it is a universal, you can ehi, come on. Pasiko, look at it, you can show it very proudly. And you can debate it until the cows come home back. So you can debate. But if you keep on debating, ehi pasiko, that is a philosophy. But Buddha says that Buddhism is not ending there. Buddhism has to be ehi pasiko, open ego. What is open ego? You can practice what you are talking about. It is a pragmatic point. It is a practicable. So once you can practice, you can see, taste for yourself. Paccatang veditabo vinyohiti. Then you will know what it is by yourself. Your personal kind of proving is a personal experience at paccatang, and that is a dharma. You see, philosophy is an idea you develop, but dharma is something very much different. Dharma means that you have to understand and you have to get result out of it. And you can do it, not debate it. We can conference, we can debate. But what is all about? But if you can get some of the clarification when you go back home, from Oxford Sayadaw, I have learned that from now on I'm going to practice this way. And when you practice, you find ultimate happiness, and that is Dharma.
The second part, so without exam, how can we study knowledge? Without exam, how can we study knowledge? So I want to, I don't want to answer this, but I want to give you some ideas. Examination is an assessment that certain people require some time for job, some time for promotion, like that. And those people, they try to gain knowledge for a certain purpose. What the Buddha is saying is that knowledge, just for its own sake, is no point. But knowledge that have solved problem. That is problem-based learning, problem-based knowledge, problem-related knowledge. That's the only useful one. How can we study without exam? Actually, the knowledge that we get through examination, we forget. When you at a standard, you forget almost anything that you had learned before. And when you're at university, you almost forget everything that you have learned before. It's not about knowledge, it's about the skill that we have. Skill, okay, social skill, thinking skill, speaking skill, that kind of skill. Okay, and if I may be allowed to take your attention, to bring your attention to Mangala Sutta. Bahudisins that's general knowledge. Pepins are the professional knowledge. Vinayos that's discipline. Ubaditas that's speaking skill, that's communication skill. So Mangala talks about education in that way. But in Professor Sakyawam Savisudi had just said, is interaction. So the skill that is useful for human interaction, that's the most useful one. Economic, define one interaction. Commerce, define one interaction. History, define one interaction. Physics, define one interaction. The religion defines another interaction. So many ways of defining that interaction, and all those skills we call them knowledge. This day, because the institution which run exam, they seem to control, to have the monopoly of knowledge. That is why we cannot think of obtaining knowledge with the exam. With the exam. Actually, if you look at the most knowledgeable monks or most knowledgeable author or scientists, most of the knowledge that they get, breakthrough knowledge, is not from exam. It's from their own motivation to help the world. Okay, that knowledge is worthier than that we learn from the exam. Thank you.
Very long. It's a whole paper. Thank you, Venerables. In terms of building confidence, we know psychologically that when things are unfamiliar, we will uncertain or underconfidence. You are right. However, is there a sense in which new educational values are already familiar to us? Maybe not in education, but in our Buddhism. Non-elitist and student-centered learning seem to embody values of non-discrimination, metta, and empirical inquiry. Not holding to views is very like any comparative study. Historicism counteracts our tendency to see things as, for forgetting they are contingent, etc., etc. So do we actually have good reason to already feel confident in this educational approach? Not only are we already partly familiar with it, but it seems to be an approach that can embody even more Buddhist values than ever before. Is there hope for this? How can we emphasize the connections rather than differences? I have to give this one to the Oxford Sayadaw with honor.
Thank you. The Buddhist idea is to help us to see that the differences that we have, they are all mind-made. They are all mind-made. and they are all self-created. To use a stronger word, is self-inflicted pain. So when we talk about change, unsatisfactoriness, and universal value, anicca, dukkha, anatta. Anicca as change, dukkha as unsatisfactoriness, anatta as universal. Pain is universal, joy is universal. In that sense, we actually, in the Buddhist practice, we actually emphasize commonness. If we say, if I experience my tiredness properly, and then I apply that, okay, I visualize that on other people, they must be also tired. Then I see something in common. When I'm hungry, if I watch my hunger mindfully, and then I use maybe 30 seconds to project it to other people, on other people, and I will get a sense that they are also hungry. So we get something in common. And to see that commonality is to help us to help us not to go into isolation. Otherwise, we tend to go into isolation. I mean, being unique means to go into isolation. If somebody is depressed, if he or she thinks that she is the only one who is depressed, other people are all happy. So there's isolation in terms of psychology. So what we are driving at in terms of Buddhist value, which is used in psychotherapy, in cognitive therapy, and all that, is that our experience, our daily experience, are all too common. There is a research which says every day we have about 50,000 thoughts, and 98% of them are repetitive, meaning the same as yesterday. This is true to everyone. This is to say, at least according to this research, 98% are common. We just think of what we're going to eat, what we're going to wear, who will say anything good about us or gossip about us. Our mind are centered around these issues. So a very repetitive, so it's a function of the mind. This question is very good that in Burmese what we say, Lekhanai Doma, the three characteristics of human being. And they are common, they are universal, they are commonality. Thank you.
I think the time is up for today. So I would like to thank the speakers once more. And we will resume tomorrow. There have been many questions that couldn't be answered during this session. But the Oxford Sayadaw will be here tomorrow for the whole day, and hopefully we will have time tomorrow to continue with this session. So please be patient with that. And so now we will stop, and I will pass the microphone to the MCs for resuming tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the venerable panelists and our chairpersons for making this question and answer session a very presentable one, and we would like to express our deep appreciation to our audience for your active participation and remain in the conference venue till the end. So before we conclude today's program, we would like to update you with the tomorrow for the second day program. Just like today, we will have afternoon paper reading sessions, and we will have 3 speakers who would be speaking on the different approach. For the chair, we have the honor of Venerable Oxford Seattle, Professor Dr. Damasami, and Siaji, Professor Dr. Dola, Head of Department of History, retired, University of Mandalay. And to acquaint you with the tomorrow papers, it is also equally very interesting, and I very much look forward to seeing you all. Looking at the 3 panelists tomorrow, you might notice that all the 3 lay scholars, though they are lay scholars, it's our honor that they all are graduated from the University of London and University of the Cambridge. Apart from that, they have looked deeply into how Buddhism and at the same time they try to dig the hidden treasures which our Myanmar people have forgotten. So not taking much ado, we would like to invite you for the tomorrow program, and we very much look forward to seeing you all tomorrow once again. So, the most venerable members of the Sangha, venerable nuns, excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, with the kind permission of the most venerables and excellencies, may we now have the honor to announce that the first day of the International Conference on Remembering the Past and Ways Forward, a multidisciplinary approach to Pali, Abbhidhamma and Buddhist studies has accomplished successfully. And on behalf of the organizing committee and Shan State Buddhist University, we really would like to express our heartfelt thanks and deep appreciation to each and everyone, our esteemed audience for gracing the occasion and for the active participation, and the University of Yangon for hosting the event, the donors, volunteers for making this event a success. So thank you very much once again. I hope we all make this event a success. So we very much look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Yangon Dekdu Shabi Tame Canada Jembare, Pali Abbhidhamma, Buddha Sabiru, Shudam Musoma, Chinka Lila and Dre, Dego Pianle Donda Chini, Naga Nilamia, Shapuji, Bibi Saya, Saran Pepwe, Tutiani, Kanaule, Jaya Dabaye, Lisa Swa, Peko Apparition. Tutiani Kanaule, Celebi Jaya Dabaye, Lisa Swa, Peko Apparition.
ယနေ့ဖြည့်ကြားရန်ကြံရှိတဲ့မေကွန်းတွေကိုလည်းမနေ့ဖြန်မှာဆက်လက်ပြီးတော့ဖြည့်ကြားပေးမှဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်ပြည်သက်များအနေနဲ့အကြွရောက်ပြီးတော့ပါဝင်ဆွေးနွေးဖို့ချီးမြှင့်ဖို့ထပ်မံပြီးတော့ဖိတ်ခေါ်အပ်ပါတယ်ကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်